Colère devant ce manque d'humanité. Je rappelle au gouvernement et la douloureuse.
Parce que le Green Pass en Italie comme en France, c'est une horreur. C'est créer deux catégories de citoyens qui n'ont pas les mêmes droits. Ça va contre la liberté et c'est un système de discrimination.
Già adesso sei partito, te ne devi andare.
Ce pass sanitaire, ça veut dire que malheureusement, le gouvernement peut tout se permettre en fait. On a beaucoup d'inquiétudes à ce niveau-là parce que tout est permis. Je pense que c'est le démarrage d'une obligation.
Around 50 anti-vaccine protesters shouted slogans and burned face masks in Johannesburg on Wednesday, July 1st, a week after the start of Africa's first human trial of vaccine against COVID-19.
I'm not happy at all. I'm not happy at all. I mean, this feels like 1981 all over again, or in the 1980s all over again, when the AIDS pandemic just broke out in SA. It feels like the same thing. It's like a replay, but this time they're doing it in our face.
The vaccine is being tested by Britain's Oxford University with local partner, the University of Witwatersrand. But the trial, consisting of 2,000 volunteers in South Africa, has also prompted a fresh wave of anti-vaccine sentiment, reflecting fears of Africans being used as guinea pigs. Community activist Walter Mashilo said the vaccine should first be tested on lawmakers and ministers' children before being used on poor people.
We want them to be in forefront of testing this vaccine to show leadership.
South Africa, which has the highest rate of infections on the continent, is the second country outside the UK to take part in the trial after Brazil. The vaccine was developed by Oxford University scientists who are now working with AstraZeneca on development and production. It's hoped that the involvement of South Africa will ensure Africa has access to an affordable vaccine and is not left at the back of the queue.
It increases pneumonia by 5 times. 5 times!
Tear gas and water cannon across Europe and growing anger over coronavirus restrictions. In Athens, Greek police tried to break up protests against compulsory COVID-19 vaccinations. Some in the crowd threw petrol bombs. The police responded with tear gas. The rally outside the Greek parliament was the third this month against mandatory inoculations for some workers, including healthcare and nursing staff.
This is not an anti-vaccine movement. These are people that have thought about it and want their freedom.
The mood was the same at a demonstration in Paris. There, tear gas filled the air as protesters opposed to a government virus pass faced off against riot police. This was just one of dozens of mainly peaceful rallies across the country, which brought out more than 160,000 people. The French plan requires all healthcare workers be vaccinated and for everyone else to prove their virus or vaccination status in order to enter restaurants and other cultural venues.
We need to wait a little bit before the French people can decide. I feel we're being rushed. It's only been 6 months since these vaccines were made available, and it feels like the French people are being forced with blackmail. I think a part of France is always going to be unwilling, and blackmail and threats won't work.
I think systematic vaccination is too extreme and too risky, and I'm also very shocked by the extension of this to children. I think they have nothing to gain and we are taking too many risks to try and save our elders.
A similar proposal sparked protests in neighbouring Italy, where people chanted, "Down with the dictatorship." From August, a vaccination certificate will be needed to eat in restaurants and visit cinemas. On Thursday, the EU reported that 200 million Europeans have now been fully vaccinated, more than half of the adult population. But that figure falls short of the bloc's 70% target set for the summer. In the United Kingdom, thousands of people rallied in London against what they say is the erosion of civil liberties, after the government's track and trace app meant more than 600,000 people were told to isolate at home earlier this month. The coronavirus pandemic is far from over, and neither's the debate about how to reopen economies while keeping everybody safe and happy. Alexia O'Brien, Al Jazeera.
situazione per noi ingestibile e incalcolabile. Provi a immaginare lei, arriva un cliente che da 10 anni che viene nel tuo locale e gli devi dire no, non puoi venire perché non ti sei vaccinato, ma lui ha paura di vaccinarsi. Che cosa dobbiamo fare noi? E questa è l'ingiustizia, non c'è libertà di scelta.
Ma semplicemente vogliamo recuperare le nostre libertà, dalla libertà di circolazione alla libertà di impresa e soprattutto alla libertà di trattamento sanitario.
Ο κάθε άνθρωπος έχει το δικαίωμα της επιλογής. Εμείς επιλέγουμε και καμία κυβέρνηση δεν επιλέγει για εμάς. Τι κάνουμε στο κορμί μας, τι κάνουν οι υπόλοιποι, είναι ελεύθεροι όλοι.
Just into our newsroom of a brawl that broke out this afternoon in downtown LA. LAPD says one man is in serious condition after being stabbed during a fight between groups of protesters that included the Proud Boys, a neo-fascist all-male group protesting masks. They were protesting those masks and other COVID-related restrictions. The other group showed up to counter them, and punches ensued and kicks as well, and apparently a stabbing. Police say they are now working to maintain order in the area.
Governor Inslee to mandate vaccines for school workers is resonating through public servants across the spectrum. Mike Johnson is a Bellingham firefighter who doesn't want a vaccine and believes no one should force it on him. He says he and like-minded firefighters are now being villainized and terrorized.
We're being told basically the only way that you can help yourself is through terror. We're being threatened with our job loss, our securities, financial loss. I mean, it's horrible.
At first they used fear, then they use guilt, then they use bribery, now they're using force. That's how you manipulate people.
Nancy Hill says she's a cardiac nurse at Bellingham's Peace Health St. Joseph Medical Center, where she was recently mandated to get a vaccine or lose her job. She says her rights and those of teachers shouldn't be any different than those of her patients.
what we want to put in our bodies, we have that right. And if we don't consent, that has to be upheld. Anyone who doesn't want any medical treatment or a certain kind of medical treatment absolutely has that right to not consent.
And as more mandates are handed down from Olympia, the divisions are growing deeper.
It doesn't matter if there's a pandemic. It doesn't matter because it shouldn't infringe on your freedoms. And Inslee should not be able to take away our freedoms because he's not a king.
Organizers here say they're not stopping with street protests. They're planning to try to organize teachers and picket school boards who go along with the governor's mandate.
Contra o autoritário e embaixador chinês João Dória. Ele quer implantar agora a vacina compulsoriamente contra a sua vontade. Isso não existe em nenhum lugar do mundo. Nem na China essa vacina é compulsoriamente aplicada nas pessoas. A própria diretora da OMS, ela já citou que aplicar essa vacina de forma autoritária em toda a população não existe. Isso não pode acontecer.
Pelo qual o escritório do governo de São Paulo, desde minha formação privilegiada. E até agora estamos para receber essa resposta e não ativar.
Eu não sou contra a vacina, certo? Eu sou contra a forma que ela está sendo produzida.
Hospital do Mandaqui.
A toque de caixa, infelizmente não tem comprovação científica.
Aos seus operadores de segurança, ao povo que está na periferia, sem osto de São Paulo. Somos podados sim, mas nós não desistiremos de fiscalizar o exército.
The conspiracy theories about the COVID-19 infection have been floating around since the pandemic began, and now, as the United Kingdom, of course, has become the first nation in the world to start the vaccination drive on a mass scale, there are anti-vaccination protesters who also marched through the streets. Our next report gets you all the details.
I want to be free. I want to live my life. I want all my friends to live their lives. You know.
Hey, they thought they could easily get their great reset. Little did they know. Little did they know. They thought they could easily have it.
There are those who believe that the coronavirus pandemic is nothing but a giant conspiracy. The pandemic. There are also those who have not warmed up to the idea of a vaccine because of the speed at which the vaccines have been developed by companies. They are now out on the streets demonstrating, just as the UK began dispensing these vaccines. Under current UK law, vaccines are not compulsory. Current legislation gives the government powers to prevent, control or mitigate the spread of an infection or contamination. However, it cannot require a person to undertake medical treatment, including vaccination. Leila Hay is a former QAnon conspiracy theory believer. These theories can have a serious impact on one's rational thinking and ability to form judgments. Followers of QAnon say a so-called Great Awakening is coming to bring salvation.
You know, it makes you really paranoid because you think that everyone's against you, like the system's against you, the government's against you, and I was constantly preparing for like, the absolute worst scenario, like a new world order was going to happen.
A survey in Britain last month showed that almost 2/3 of the people were willing to get vaccinated. Some worry about the side effects, even though as per the available data, the side effects have not been serious or long-lasting. However esoteric and plausible these may be, many of these theories are full of loopholes. Many theories lack any basis at all.
What we've also seen is that the online space provides a really fertile environment for different conspiracy theories that already existed to merge and kind of center around the pandemic. So we've seen pre-existing anti-vaccination beliefs, we've seen pre-existing concerns around 5G technology, we've seen pre-existing conspiracy theories about New World Order type conspiracies, these have all kind of merged and they've been brought together because they're suddenly all talking about one news event, and the online space gives them the opportunity to cross over between each other.
With a simple click, one can find various conspiracy theories, threads, groups, forums. Many have fallen prey to misinformation, but this isn't new. Rumors and false information during pandemics have been around for centuries.
I've been shocked by the amount of people who are entertaining or believing, extremely incorrect, unfounded beliefs. I've researched this area for a long time and have been surprised by the data coming out more recently. I don't think it's harmless. I think conspiracy thinking can be pernicious. It's a time we all need to come together, and conspiracy beliefs typically divide.
But to blindly believe these theories, to overlook the statistics, would be a grave disregard for the millions of lives that have been lost. The families that have lost their livelihood, and those who are struggling every single day.
We're sick and tired of living in fear.
After all, the virus does not discriminate. It cannot differentiate between the believers and the skeptics. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
God bless Australia. The mainstream media.
Have to go down the front.
Is just ignoring here. We show them they have no sovereignty unless you get it.
On to protest against the COVID-19 vaccines. They say they want their constitutional right to freedom of association respected. They've decried what they say is information censorship against voices that do not accept the dominant narrative on COVID-19 and vaccines.
The marchers say they are part of a worldwide movement protesting for the same cause. None of them wore masks and they have not been vaccinated. They say they don't believe the numbers of COVID deaths reported by governments throughout the world. They claim the coronavirus testing protocols are wrong for infectious diseases.
The PCR test figures are wrong. We have got a huge amount of people with TB in this country. 150 people were dying of TB every single day before COVID. Nobody started wearing masks because of that. If you have a testing protocol that's not accurate, and then you have people going into hospital who've maybe got TB but are being wrongly tested to say they've got COVID and then put on a ventilator, it could kill them. You know, I'm not a doctor, but it's really, this is a basic thing.
Health authorities say the group will say anything to defame the product.
The PCR test is considered golden standard internationally, which is why our country and our province make use of the PCR test to detect COVID positive cases, as well as the antigen rapid test that's also available within a few hours. And together, the two of them form part of our mechanisms to detect and to pick up COVID positive cases so that we can interact and engage with those patients quickly.
The group says their constitutional rights to freedom of association is being curtailed. They also do not accept the state of disaster declared in the country.
We have come as a presentation of a worldwide demonstration of freedom, fighting for our freedoms, and protesting and demonstrating for our freedoms. We don't want to be subjected to curfews, we don't want to be subjected to wearing masks, and we definitely don't want to be subjected to any narrative that is going along the lines of forced vaccines to enter into public spaces.
It's fear-mongering, over and over, the same fear-mongering. We want a new narrative. They're saying the same stuff from last year. We want new narrative. We want to say, this is the solution. Let's go and exercise. Let's get vitamin D. Let's get ivermectin. Let's get hydroquinone. There are other options for us to do, which is not the vaccine, and the only thing they say is vaccine, 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 vaccine. We want other options, President, please. Let's open up our industries. We want to work. We are DJs.
There were anti-media chants and slogans too, with the media accused of being part of shutting down this alternative source of information about the virus. Thandi Swamau, SABC News, Cape Town.
They will be forced to get vaccinated. Good evening, everyone. I'm Rod Carter.
I'm Angela Taylor. Some of the people concerned packed the lawn of the legislative building today, demanding support of a bill that offers protection for people who don't want to get the vaccine.
CBS 17's Jamise Price heard their concerns today and shares why they are backing this bill. Jamise.
Rod, this demonstration lasted all day. This lawn just outside the legislative building, it was packed with a few hundred folks who, for the most part, want to make sure they are not required by the government, a business, or their job to get a vaccine or show proof they received it. The message, loud and clear. Their body, their choice. A message they're calling medical freedom. This group doesn't want the COVID-19 vaccine and doesn't want to be required to get it. At this time, it's not a requirement by the state. In HB 558, a proposed bill would prohibit it from ever happening.
This is more about protecting our bodies, protecting our freedom.
Jenny Kay was one of a few hundred people who rallied for support of HB 558 on the lawn of the General Assembly. The bill prohibits the governor from requiring or mandating that everyone receives a vaccine through an executive order. It would also give civil and criminal immunity to anybody who refuses to receive a COVID-19 vaccination.
Whether they are doing it or not, this is so that it's not possible at all. Protecting our freedom, that's just it.
The bill also bans businesses from requiring a person to disclose whether or not they received a COVID-19 vaccine to enter their facility.
So it's going to put people that just want to live their lives be left alone in a situation where they have to take an injection of foreign material into their body in order to just live their lives.
Now, this bill, if it becomes law, will add some extra protection in the workplace. It would prohibit an employer from hiring or firing someone based on their vaccination history. Now, this bill is all about choice and is ironic because it's going to limit the choices that a business would have. Live in Raleigh, Janice Price, CBS 17 News.
My body is mine, and nobody can force me to receive any medicines that I don't want to have in my body.
Well, I feel quite safe being vaccinated twice. Still, I think I would feel a bit uncomfortable to know that there are people around me which are not vaccinated or could infect or could be infected by me or by other people.
The question is, how do we reopen the market, the economy, the life without harming people that cannot or wouldn't get vaccinated? It's a question about balance. And what is the balance? Are we as a society allowed to impose vaccination on people? Our answer is no.
They say they're the first in the room to care for patients, but back of the line to get vaccinated. Fellows protesting both inside and outside today, saying they were largely left out of the hospital's early vaccine plan.
We came out here after we learned that only 7 out of the 1,349 residents and fellows were selected for the first wave of vaccinations.
I think the lack of transparency was most upsetting to us.
And the hospital admits it did it wrong, saying in a statement, quote, "Our intent was to roll out an ethical and equitable plan for the entire organization, and there were flaws in that plan that we are actively trying to repair."
If you don't take care of us, we will not be able to take care of patients.
The residents say early doses should also go to nurses, therapists, janitors, and food service workers, people they say Stanford's algorithm may not include.
We see all these people who should be in the first wave of getting access to vaccines, and they're telling us that they're not.
The residents tell us the next step is to get a seat at the table for the upcoming round of discussions as to where the next set of vaccine doses gets distributed. At Stanford, Scott Budman, NBC. Bay Area News.
No more shots! No more shots! No more shots!
We don't want no shots.
We want no shots.
We don't want no shots. We don't want no cards.
No tyranny. Otherwise, take the Statue of Liberty back to France.
It's not a vaccine. It's not a vaccine. It's an experimental drug. It's not a
Give it to us by the CCP.
My body, your choice.
My body, my choice.
Why does a child need a doctor's note to go to a tanning salon, but they want to vaccinate children that are not of the age of consent? Why? Why?
I think you should have the choice whether or not to take the shot. I don't think it's right for the corporations to pressure citizens to taking a shot. The FDA has been wrong before. People can look up how many times they've been wrong. There's a long, long list of drugs that they've had to recall over time. Why is this any different?
This is not right what they are doing to my community. And my community is not just union members. It's non-union members. It's dance moms and dads. It's little girls taking ballet class, being forced to wear a mask. We will not comply. We will not comply.
These mandates and these oppressive policies turn you, our heroes, into zeros. You can't keep your jobs, you won't be able to go into a gym or a ball game or a theater or a restaurant. This is blatant, irrational discrimination, and it's unjust, unethical, and it cannot stand. And let me tell you something. It's disgusting. It's unacceptable. Parents need to pull their children out of public schools, and there will be a lot of teachers who are available to fight and available to teach your kids at home.
Protesters temporarily forced the closure of the Dodger vaccination site. The protesters blocked the entrance to Dodger Stadium, delaying people who were trying to get their shots. The action leading to a long backup of cars. In all, about 30 people, some waving signs with anti-mask messages, joined in on the demonstration. The LAPD was able to move the protesters out of the way. Cars are once again moving.
Cop a spray. As police try to disperse a large and loud crowd on St Kilda Road, protesting against mandatory COVID vaccinations. Police had blocked their path, they doubled back. Flashpoints as each side faced off, and officers made arrests.
Get on the ground now! I didn't even do anything. I didn't even do anything. They're criminals.
It started with speeches against coercion to have the vaccine.
This is experimental bio-warfare on the people. They have not been approved.
With a warning for politicians.
Guess what? We're coming for all the marginal seats. You're finished. I hope you've had fun. You need to start looking for another job because you're done.
But independent Victorian MP Catherine Cumming quickly got the crowd offside.
Could I ask you all, please, to actually start to social distance? No, please, no, please, no.
Some were trying to socially distance, but police numbers were significant, hundreds tracking the group for hours.
Can I report the real news today, buddy, about how the cops are beating everybody, or what?
They say they aren't anti-vaxxers, they want the freedom to choose, without pressure from governments, employers or airlines.
A normal vaccination takes 7 to 15 years for production. This one has been rushed through, not even 12 months.
There's a Facebook group on Facebook, and you see all the adverse reactions, they're all shaking, and they can't even walk anymore. And you have to look into that.
We do not consent!
As they marched through Faulkner Park, they interrupted a cricket match.
Not only the senior grades that have streakers on the ground.
So be it. It's a free country, innit? I don't mind.
And a baby shower.
There seems to be a few extra visitors than we had planned for.
Again and again, police surrounded small groups of protesters, then picked one at a time off and arrested them. Slowly, the crowds dispersed. Many of those arrested released soon after.
They said I was under arrest for hindering police because I wanted to walk through the Oval.
No fine, no charge.
Nothing.
It's time to move on. Go home.
Oh my gosh, it's an absolute disgrace. We have every right to be here.
Simultaneous rallies happened in other cities, including Adelaide, where Dan Andrews was front and centre, then Brisbane's Botanic Gardens, and in Sydney's Hyde Park.
The system is broken in so many ways.
Where celebrity chef Pete Evans took to the mic.
Each and every one of you has to stand up in whatever capacity you can.
The Chief Health Officer's directions forbid public gatherings of any more than 20, and coincidentally today police arrested 20 at the protest. 15 will be fined for breaching those orders. The other 5 will be charged for resisting arrest, hindering police and failing to hand over their personal information to police. Mike?
OK, Paul, thank you. And the Chief Health Officer, Brett Sutton, says vaccination is the only true way COVID restrictions will finally end. He's ignoring anti-vaxxers, putting the safety of all Victorians...
I don't want to be excluded from my choice.
Thousands of people take to the streets to protest Quebec's vaccine passport. They say the public health measure meant to help to curb the spread of COVID's powerful Delta variant is discriminatory and infringes on their rights.
There's concerns with freedom of movement. There's concerns with surveillance. There's concerns with vulnerability. But, you know, if this is going to work and work well, it means that the benefits of this need to override all of those concerns, that the benefits are so strong that it justifies the action taken. I'm not saying they're not, but I am saying I don't know.
No vaccinal pass. No. Let people live. Let people get vaccinated or not.
Quebec businesses such as bars and gyms will require proof of double vaccination as of September 1st. The province will be the first in Canada to enforce this.
But one of the strengths Canada has had is we've mostly had social cohesion about how to deal with the pandemic. And, you know, we've mostly gotten along and we've moved together in a straight line. Vaccine certificates or passports, whatever word you choose to describe them as being, they are divisive. They divide people. They're designed to divide people, but they also divide people politically and emotionally.
We're all against this mandate and this idea that people should be excluded and designated as second-class citizens. They can't travel to see their family. They can't enjoy the same rights as other people. That's what we're protesting against, not the vaccine itself. Respect our rights and freedoms of all Canadians.
People who have double vaccination can still have tested positive. So why a pass sanitaire?
In Montreal, Brittany
I
Enriquez,
don't consent.
That message rang loud and clear today as hundreds met at the Capitol to protest Governor Jay Inslee's vaccination mandate. The emergency proclamation requires state employees and healthcare workers to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 by October 18th. While opinions of the vaccines themselves varied,
operational system to download people to connect them to 5G.
Variants in all these different aspects of this disease are being manufactured by the vaccines.
This is only one virus. What's going to happen down the road, sir?
but they agree on one thing.
It is really about the mandate. I do not feel that it is appropriate that the government or the governor is telling me that it is safe to get a vaccine when they have no idea what is happening with my body.
People should have the right to choose.
Protesters say this is just another example of Governor Inslee abusing his emergency authority.
What they're telling you and why they're pushing this has nothing to do about a virus any longer. This is about control.
However, the governor's office disagrees, telling King 5 earlier this week they are confident in their legal authority to mandate the vaccine and that it would stand up in court. There's also a concern about hospital staffing. Washington health officials have warned about critical staffing levels. Healthcare workers at today's protest say there's no wiggle room.
We're going to lose a ton of healthcare professionals. They're going to walk away. They were tired before. They were absolutely exhausted before this hit. Then COVID hit. They're done.
And for some, it's as simple as not wanting to have the decision taken away from them.
I'm hearing many employees saying, I am looking for different jobs. I am going to leave because it's just the governor is not going to tell me what I'm going to do after I already spent all these months forming a decision?
We are organized to be out here because we want freedom of choice with the vaccine. It has not stood the test of time as all the other vaccines we take and give our children have. We need more time, we need more research. None of these vaccine companies have liability. So if you develop a health problem, and many people have, you are on your own medically. Nobody's going to come in with a $200,000 check to pay your medical bill or your time off work if there's a problem with the vaccine.
So when COVID was pretty bad, I got my vaccine December 23rd, 2020, and I was in the ED like less than a week later. I ended up like having extreme left arm pain and shoulder pain, which turned into adhesive capsulitis where my shoulder was frozen. So I had to get a steroid shot eventually to free that up. I've had all kinds of heart problems with like fast heart rate, high blood pressure. I'm dealing with some peripheral neuropathy in my hands. But yeah, so I got hurt. They denied me workers' compensation because even though they had encouraged it and pushed it and said that it was safe, but they denied me workers' comp because it is a quote-unquote voluntary vaccination up until, I guess, like a week ago when they made it mandatory to get it by September 21st by 10 a.m., otherwise you'll get terminated.
Not to get the vaccine just doesn't make any sense to me. And working in a hospital without being vaccinated doesn't make any sense to me because you're just exposing people to getting sick. And I feel that the freedom, you know, people saying their freedom's being taken away, but I feel that freedom is when you're affecting the community with this freedom, and that's just not right, you know. So I feel like freedom is getting the vaccine, and we can go back to a normal life.
I was working as a triage nurse, so I was actually working throughout a lot of it. And why aren't we teaching people that you need to be out in the sun, you need to get vitamin D, you need vitamin C, you need to be well rested, you need to take fruits and vegetables. And when we tell people that, there is a pushback, even within the medical community.
And urged the public to get vaccinated so we could live with rather than cower from this virus. Words which prompted outrage from opposition MPs and people still vulnerable to COVID. But as virus infections halved in a week, the government is determined to use the vaccine rollout to get the country moving again. And one idea that's gaining ground to persuade the young to get jabbed is vaccine passports for Premier League games and major events. It's already happening around the globe, sparking protests. From Italy to Israel and France, where from the middle of last week a pass sanitaire has been a requirement for venues with more than 50 people. In Britain, as in France, the government is facing opposition, not least from its own MPs.
BNN